Welcome everyone to the Reddit Real Talk channel. Please subscribe to the channel and like this video. I won't drag out for long. Let's get started. My name is Daniel Cross. 5 years ago, I had a wife named Vanessa, a career I loved, a house we just bought together, and dreams of kids and weekend barbecues. Now, I have something much better. But to understand how I got here, to the moment I stood under the blinding lights of a national TV studio, while Vanessa's smug smile turned to horror, you have to go back to the beginning, back to when everything was normal, back to when I trusted her. Vanessa and I had been married for 3 years. She was beautiful, charming, and knew how to light up a room. Everyone loved her. I did too. Or, at least, the version of her she let me see. I worked as a civil engineer for a mid-sized firm, often putting in long hours, but always making time for her. She worked in PR and was constantly surrounded by polished people with polished smiles. She loved attention. I didn't mind, until I started noticing how much she craved it from men who weren't me. But I pushed those thoughts away. We were fine. She said we were fine. Until I got sick. It started with fatigue, then nausea, then weight loss. Eventually, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Stage 2, treatable but serious. I remember the day I told her. I sat her down, held her hands, and said, "It's cancer, but the doctor said there's a good chance." She pulled her hands away like I had burned her. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I didn't sign up for this." At first, I thought it was a shock talking, but over the next few weeks, her behavior became colder. She stopped coming to chemo sessions, stopped asking how I was feeling, stopped sleeping at home. Then one morning, I woke up to an empty closet and a typed note on the kitchen counter. "Dan, I'm sorry, but I need to live my life. I can't be a nurse. You deserve someone who can handle this better than me. Vanessa." No face-to-face goodbye. No emotion. Just gone. I won't lie. Those next few months were hell. The treatment drained me, physically and emotionally. I lost hair, weight, hope. But I didn't lose my will. I beat cancer. Alone. When I rang the hospital bell, signaling my last round of chemo, I vowed something. I wouldn't just survive. I'd rebuild. And when I did, I'd make Vanessa regret everything. But revenge is tricky. You can't rush it. It has to be patient. Precise. You have to smile while the world forgets you, and then reappear when they least expect it. Stronger, smarter, untouchable. That's exactly what I did. I moved to a new city, got a better job with a construction firm that landed government contracts, worked out, built muscle, grew my hair back. I started documenting my journey, cancer, recovery, betrayal, in a video blog that slowly gained traction. I didn't expect the channel to go viral, but something about my raw honesty, my underdog comeback, resonated. Soon, I had over 1 million subscribers. Interviews followed, podcasts, motivational speaking gigs. Then one day, out of the blue, I got a DM. "Hi, Daniel. This is Rachel from Truth Seat. We're a nationally syndicated talk show focused on personal stories of betrayal and redemption. We'd love to feature your story." I said yes, not because I needed more attention, but because I knew Vanessa watched that show religiously, and she had no idea what was coming. The producers at Truth Seat were thrilled to have me. I played it cool, said I just wanted to inspire others. But I had a very different reason. I wasn't just going to tell my story. I was going to rewrite hers. They flew me out to L.A., put me in a hotel, and scheduled me for the Redemption Special, an hour-long segment in front of a live studio audience. The theme, when they left you at rock bottom. When I arrived at the studio, I wore a clean-cut navy suit, no tie, top button open, confident but grounded. The audience wouldn't see a victim. They'd see the man who survived being discarded like trash and turn into someone unbreakable. Backstage, the host, Kelly, greeted me warmly. She had that smooth media polish. "Daniel, we reviewed your videos. Your story is powerful. We're going to walk through the illness, the abandonment, the comeback. Keep it real. Be honest. The audience eats that up." I nodded, rehearsed but relaxed. No problem. What I didn't tell her, I had done my homework. Vanessa had moved to LA after she left me. She was working PR at a boutique agency, one that represented influencers and luxury brands. I also knew she had recently started dating someone with connections in entertainment, and Truth Seat was her favorite show. It wouldn't take much to get her into the audience. The night before my taping, I reached out to producers with a suggestion. I have an idea. What if we brought in someone from my past to surprise me? You could present it as a twist. Great for ratings. They loved it. I gave them Vanessa's full name, social media handles, and last known employer. I told them we hadn't spoken since she left me. That part was true. They invited her anonymously, telling her she'd be part of a relationship retrospective audience segment. She agreed. She had no idea who the episode was about. The day of the taping, I waited backstage, heartbeat steady. I practiced every answer, every pause. I didn't need to exaggerate. The truth was enough. And then the lights went up. Kelly sat across from me on the sleek white set, cameras rolling. Today, we're talking to Daniel Cross, a man who was abandoned at the lowest point in his life and who rose from the ashes to become an inspiration to millions. The audience clapped. I could see a few faces in the crowd, but not hers yet. Kelly asked me to start at the beginning. The diagnosis, the fear, the loneliness. I remember sitting in the doctor's office thinking, it's over. Not just my health, but everything I had built, my marriage, my plans. I looked over at my wife, and she looked back at me like I was already a ghost. Kelly leaned in. You were married at the time? Yes, 3 years. Her name was Vanessa. A ripple moved through the crowd. I caught a flicker of movement in the third row. A woman, frozen. Kelly asked, did she support you through your treatment? I didn't look at the crowd. I stared at Kelly. She said, I didn't sign up for this, and left. No hug, no goodbye, just a note on the counter. Gasps, murmurs. Kelly's face twisted into professional sympathy. She just walked away, she asked. She walked away while I was fighting for my life. The camera panned across the audience, and there she was, Vanessa. She had curled her hair into those soft waves she always used when she wanted to impress. Her face was pale, her lips slightly parted. Kelly turned to camera. We're going to take a short break. But when we return, a surprise guest, someone from Daniel's past, is here with us today. When we returned from commercial, the room was darker, more intimate. Kelly turned to the audience. Vanessa, would you mind joining us on stage? Her eyes went wide. Her legs didn't move. Kelly smiled politely. It's okay, just for a moment. We think your perspective matters. 2 stagehands gently guided her up. She sat beside me on the couch, hands trembling slightly. The audience was dead silent. Vanessa, Kelly began. Did you know Daniel was going to be on today? No, she said softly. I thought this was a relationship panel. You and Daniel were married. He's just told us his version of what happened. Would you like to respond? I turned to her, slowly, calmly. She blinked rapidly, as if her brain was rebooting in real time. I didn't know he'd gotten so sick. I mean, he said it was serious, but I panicked. I wasn't ready for that kind of commitment. I said, that kind of love. She flinched. I was 33 years old, fighting cancer, and my wife's biggest fear was inconvenience. Kelly tried to play neutral, but the fire in my voice pulled her in. Vanessa, did you try to contact Daniel after he recovered? She shook her head. No, I figured he hated me. I didn't hate you, I said. I pitied you. But now I want you to see what you walked away from. I turned to the camera. This isn't just about me, I said. This is for every person who was left behind when they were most vulnerable. Every person who learned that love isn't proven during the good times. It's measured by who stays during the storms. Vanessa looked like she wanted to crawl off the stage. But I wasn't finished. Vanessa, I said, you once told me I deserved someone better. You were right. I do. And I became that someone. The audience burst into applause. Some stood. Kelly mouthed, wow. And Vanessa? She just sat there, silent, Exposed. I didn't need her apology. I didn't even need her tears. I just needed her to see it. The moment the camera stopped rolling, the studio felt different. The audience, still murmuring, began filing out. Kelly gave me a nod of approval, her mic already off. That was incredible, Daniel. You just gave us one of our best episodes this season. I nodded, keeping my eyes fixed straight ahead. I didn't need to say anything else. Everything I want to say had already been broadcast to millions. Vanessa, still seated beside me, didn't move. She looked stunned, like someone who had just woken up in a place she didn't remember falling asleep in. A production assistant gently touched her shoulder. "Ma'am, we have someone who can escort you out." She stood slowly, smoothed her skirt, and turned to me. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. "I'm not angry anymore," I said quietly without even looking at her. "But don't expect forgiveness. You made your bed." She nodded and walked away. And that should have been it. But then came the internet. Within 24 hours, the Truth Seat segment had gone viral. The clip of Vanessa being invited on stage and my calm, brutal honesty racked up millions of views. People reposted it on TikTok with captions like, "This man is a definition of, I'll show you." Imagine abandoning your husband with cancer and ending up on live TV next to him like that. She left him to die. He lived to tell the story and made sure she heard it. The comments were ruthless. People found her Instagram, her work LinkedIn, even her employer's public page. The boutique PR firm she worked for was getting tagged nonstop in comment threads. 2 days later, she deleted all her social media. 3 days later, I got a message from a burner account. "You humiliated me in front of the entire country. I made a mistake. But what you did, that was intentional." I didn't respond. Not out of kindness, but out of certainty. She wasn't sorry she did it. She was sorry people saw it. But karma hadn't finished with her yet. One of my subscribers, a guy who worked in the PR industry, messaged me privately. He told me Vanessa's firm was struggling to manage the backlash. A few of their clients threatened to leave if she stayed on. Less than a week later, she was let go. I never publicly addressed any of it. I didn't have to. The story had legs, and the world wasn't done talking about it. But I wasn't done either. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the Truth Seat producers again. "Daniel, we want you back. A follow-up. You become something of a legend online." I wasn't sure at first. I didn't want to become that guy, the viral sob story who just kept milking the pain. But then they told me something that changed my mind. "We're doing a special series. What happened after? It's not about the drama anymore. It's about how people rebuild. Redemption, success, impact." I agreed, not for revenge this time, but for closure. When I returned to the show, the tone was different. The crowd still remembered me. But this time, I wasn't just a symbol of betrayal. I was an embodiment of reinvention. I told them how I used the pain as fuel. How the day Vanessa left was the last day I ever waited for someone else to save me. I talked about the early mornings learning video editing, the late nights responding to comments, the doctors who helped me get stronger, and the friends who showed up when I needed them most. I don't hate my past. I said, I needed it. Every wound gave me armor, and now I help others build theirs. The crowd stood again. It wasn't for the drama this time. It was for the resilience. After the show, in the dressing room, I opened my phone to dozens of messages from people who'd been through their own versions of abandonment. People whose partners walked out on them after a diagnosis, a job loss, a miscarriage, a bankruptcy. They thanked me for being the voice they didn't have when it happened to them. And then I saw one more message, from a name I didn't recognize. A young woman named Alyssa. She wrote, "I saw your story and cried. Not because I've been hurt, but because I've done the hurting. Your words woke me up. I don't want to be someone who walks away when things get hard. I'm sorry for what happened to you, but thank you for telling the truth." That's when it hit me. My story wasn't just revenge. It was a mirror. Some saw their own pain. Some saw their own guilt. But everyone saw something they couldn't ignore. Even Vanessa. The hardest part about revenge isn't planning it. It's waiting. Waiting for the right moment. waiting for the right platform, waiting to strike when they're standing so high that the fall will crush everything they built with your pain. After I recovered, I didn't reach out to Emily. I wanted her to live with a version of me she'd made up in her head. Weak, irrelevant, disposable. Let her enjoy her new life with Blake, the plastic real estate poster boy with a jawline, and a leased Range Rover. I wasn't interested in rekindling anything. I was interested in finishing what she started, but on my terms. Months passed. I focused on getting healthy, mentally and physically. I started a blog documenting my recovery, not just from my illness, but from betrayal. It resonated. People shared it. A media company noticed. And one day I got an email. Hi, Matthew. We're casting for a new TV docu-series about stories of personal betrayal and redemption. Your writing moved our team. Would you consider coming on camera to tell your story? I stared at that email for a long time. I hadn't written Emily's name. I hadn't mentioned the affair. But they saw through the lines. They wanted that pain, that fire. And I had plenty of both. I agreed under one condition. I wanted to tell it anonymously at first. My face blurred. My voice altered. Just a segment in a larger episode. They agreed. I told my story from beginning to end, omitting names and details that would reveal too much too soon. But I wasn't done. After the first episode aired, it blew up. It became one of the most watched segments of the show's entire run. Viewers demanded a follow-up. The producers came back to me. Would you consider coming forward publicly? We could do a full feature. You have control over how much gets revealed. I thought about it, about the damage, about the timing. Then I remembered something Emily had once posted on Instagram. Never date a man who can outthink you when he's angry. She was right. I could outthink her. And I was very, very angry. I said yes. The producers gave me the red carpet. Pre-recorded interview, documentary-style footage, reenactments with actors, and a live segment. The new episode would be a full hour, and it would air during prime time. But before the airing, I did something that would ensure Emily saw it before the rest of the world. I sent her a text. You'll want to watch Channel 7 on Tuesday, 8 p.m. I think you'll recognize the story. She didn't reply. Tuesday came. I was in the studio, behind the scenes. They gave me a green room, water, snacks, a screen where I could watch the show go live. When my face appeared on screen, unblurred, my voice raw and calm, I felt a release I didn't expect. Like I'd taken back power she thought she'd buried with me. The show laid it all out. The illness, the abandonment, the affair, the recovery, the emotional fallout. Then the twist, the public exposure. The cameras cut to a live audience, people who'd follow my blog. There were gasps, tears, even a few people clapping when I revealed how she'd left me with nothing but an empty apartment and a hospital bill. I didn't name Emily, but people who knew us, they knew. And more importantly, she knew. That night, my inbox exploded. Messages from people who'd been through the same thing. Others asking if Emily had seen it yet. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was her. Matt, I saw the show. I don't even know what to say. You made me look like a monster. No, Emily, you did that all by yourself. But I wasn't done yet. After the episode aired, my phone didn't stop vibrating for days. Friends from college, co-workers, even distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. All reaching out. Most of them had no idea what I'd gone through. Some did. But one thing was certain. They all now knew who Emily was. She didn't stay silent for long. A week later, I noticed her social media pages were gone. Deleted, not deactivated. Gone. But that wasn't the satisfying part. The real satisfaction came when I received a message from one of her old co-workers. Dude, Emily got fired. Her company said she broke their morals clause and embarrassed the brand. Turns out, when your personal scandal goes viral on national TV, even without your full name, it tends to make waves. Especially when your ex is being called a symbol of quiet strength in the press and your face is being shared on forums dissecting the girlfriend who dipped when things got hard. Her life began to unravel. Blake, the rich guy she left me for, stuck around for a few more weeks. But the thing about men like him is they only want women who shine. And Emily wasn't shining anymore. She was radioactive, a public punchline, a cautionary tale. He dumped her through a mutual friend. Didn't even text. She tried calling me again. I ignored it. Then came the email. A long, drawn-out attempted apology. She wrote about how scared she'd been, how young and selfish she was, how she'd been manipulated by Blake, and how she never stopped loving me. It was probably the most honest thing she'd ever written. But it wasn't enough. I replied with a single sentence. You taught me what real pain feels like, and I returned the favor. Then I blocked her. Everywhere. I didn't do it out of hate. I did it to protect the man I had become. The man she tried to erase. The one who learned that healing doesn't always mean forgiveness. Sometimes, healing is letting someone feel what they made you feel. Months later, I was invited to a panel event titled Turning Pain into Power. I stood on stage, looked out at the audience, full of people who'd been broken like I had, and I shared my story once more, not for revenge this time, but for them. At the end of the event, someone asked me during Q&A, if you could go back, would you want her to stay? I thought about it for a moment. Then I said, no. If she hadn't left, I wouldn't have found myself. The crowd clapped, and just like that, she no longer had power over me.